Hey everybody, it's GoblinX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today I'll be playing another mixed up Premier Draft, Magic Arena's version of a Chaos Draft with cards from a ton of different sets thrown in mostly at random. Without further ado, let's go into our Pack 1 Pick 1 where there are several great options. Fleeting Spirit, good for any white aggressive strategy. Imperial Oath seems like it would be really good in this format because it's super splashable. It can flip a game in your favor, really gets that board state where you want it to be. So I think Imperial Oath is pretty great. Mirari Conjecture is very nice as well, but it does require some building around. You want to play a lot of instants and sorceries so that you can return 2 of them to your hand and get some value off of the double spelling, but that's certainly an option as well. Migration Path seems really good in this format for fixing. Just requires 1 green mana and 3 more to get the lands that you need, or you can cycle it if you draw it late game, so that's pretty good too. Lots of really good options, but I think Imperial Oath seems really good. Again, super splashable. It only requires 1 white mana, and you don't need that mana until you have 6 lands total. So I think Oath seems great. Speaking of things that seem great, Excellent Removal is particularly excellent in Mixed Up Premier Draft, so Go for the Throat seems super sweet to me. There's some other great options like the Falconwrath Celebrants and the Bloodcrazed Socialite. Kind of weird that the other 2 best options are both from Crimson Vow here. Some great blood token producers. But as I've said before, each pack in these mixed up Premier Drafts, kind of to their detriment a little bit when it comes to chaos, when it comes to randomness, is going to have the same packs every time. So pack 1, all the packs we're getting past are going to have cards from Capenna, Vow, M19, Dominaria, Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, Brothers War, and so forth. It's going to be the same 9 or 10 sets getting passed to us throughout Pack 1. They'll switch around for Pack 2 and then switch again for Pack 3, but that would be why we're seeing multiple cards from the same set here. It's not a pure random, pure Chaos Draft. Anyways, Imperial Oath, Go for the Throat seems like an excellent way to start this draft. Now we have an Honored Heirloom for fixing, Virus Beetle for a pretty great 2-for-1 creature. Get a 1/1 on board, make your opponent discard a card. Sleep is a pretty big finisher for any blue deck. That'd be pretty good. Wild Bonder's fine. Academy Drake's fine. Bunch of solid stuff. I think Virus Beetle is definitely one of the strongest cards in this pack, and it sticks with our Go for the Throat, so I'm happy to scoop that up. Grab the nice little 2-for-1 play. Pack 1, pick 4. Well, Mindleech Ghoul is not quite as good as a Virus Beetle, but if we have an expendable token or creature on board, we can get a 2-for-1 off of this as well. Make our opponent exile a card from their hand. Crawling Chorus is not really going to be good without a bunch of toxic cards. Might want to move into red for Electrify or Get the Point, 2 pretty great removal spells. Get the Point needs us to be black-red, but it's a little better than Electrify because it can kill a little bit more cards. But these 2 are definitely in the top 3 strongest cards. Yeah, I should probably just take a removal spell. And since they both require red, I think I'll take the one that's a little bit less restrictive. Even though it kind of does look like we're heading into black right now. Just a little safer to take Electrify. I don't know, I'll still take Get the Point here though. Pack 1, pick 5. Some solid blue stuff like Academy Journey Mage for the 2-for-1 bounce spell there. Run Out of Town is fine. Body Dropper's okay if you have some other sacrifice stuff. By itself, it's not great, but could just kind of commit to black-red and try to find some blood tokens or treasure tokens or anything to trigger this. I guess this only triggers when you sack creatures. Yeah, pretty narrow, pretty hard to do that compared to other stuff. The white cards are just bad, though, so I guess it's just like Academy Journey Mage. Maybe Atmosphere Surgeon's pretty good, too, being able to give things flying over and over. I'm actually going to go Atmosphere Surgeon over the Academy. Well, I want Wizards. This is a wizard. There's probably a lot of blue wizards. It's really close between Atmosphere Surgeon and the Academy Journey Mage for the best card there, I would say. Pick 6 now. More decent blue stuff. Probably like Syncopate as the counterspell the best. Decent black with Dead Revels. Vampire's Vengeance is okay. we're never going to be a vampire deck, so this is just 2 damage to every creature, but that is fine at instant speed. Rather just take the really nice blue counterspell, though, with Syncopate. Okay. Siphoner's really bad. Cruel Grimnark's pretty good. It's a lot of mana. But 5/5 Death Touch, make your opponent discard a card is a pretty big 2-for-1. And you know how much I love those. I've been saying it a lot already. So take Grimnark here. We could also take Dismal Backwater for some fixing. Mystic Subdual would be pretty whatever. But I'll go for Cruel Grimnark here. If we're going to be playing black, we can have a lot better removal than Mystic Subdual. Gixian Skullflayer, Puzzle Maker, Fiery Intervention, Flourishing Hunters. Pretty big at the top end. Do I have any enchantments? I'm sitting here with 1 artifact and 0 enchantments. I don't think Roadside Reliquary is really going to do anything for us. I'll take the Flourishing Hunter. I think it's the best card in the pack. A 6/6 that gains a bunch of life when it hits the board is a pretty big way to stabilize. The only thing we know for sure is that we're playing black right now. And even that, we're only 3 cards deep, so a really strong bomber getting opened up in pack 2 could change things, and Maestro's Theater feels great. Really flexible mana fixing for us. Blue, black, or red is what it can grab for us. And yeah, we're on black and blue number 1 with red having a card as well for a possibility. There is a Mirari Conjecture. It's good value over time, but it's really, really slow. I think I'd rather take Maestro's Theater and make sure I have some fixing. Bloodcrazed Socialite, pick 10. Alright, we're definitely in black. This card's insane. Even without the blood tokens to make this hit, like, a ton, a 4-mana 3/3 menace plus a blood token is a good deal. But I guess it's not as crazy as it was during Crimson Vow, where you could put this on the board with like 3 or 4 blood tokens and just keep attacking with a 5/5 menace. That's when it was completely ridiculous. Could take this Lacerate Flesh. How badly do I not want to play Honored Heirloom? Pretty badly. I'll take Lacerate Flesh. Not a huge fan of 3-mana Mana Rocks. Okay, we get Mind Leech Ghoul back. That's a good one. Yep, still not super sure what we're doing here, but we've got a bunch of solid black cards. Some random solid off-color stuff. Don't like any of this. We'll just cut black. Take the Drudge Sentinel. Not going to play either of these. I'll just cut black. Let's see what we managed to open up in pack 2. Hopefully a pretty sweet rare that can give us a very solid sense of direction for our second color. Maybe like a blue-black Planeswalker or something. That would be insane, though. I have not seen a ton of Planeswalkers in this format. I've had a Mordenkainen once, and I played against a Mordenkainen once. I think that's about it. Outside of some random War of the Spark uncommon Planeswalkers. Okay, hey, all right. Well, speak of Planeswalkers, and they shall appear. I didn't really want to try to go into black-red here, but we have Lacerate Flesh and get the point. We can do it, and Chandra is likely worth it. So, let's see. I mean, she's the best card in this pack. By quite a lot. Second best is probably Welding Sparks. So she's a card draw engine. +1, exile the top card of the library. We can play it this turn. And if we get to 7 loyalty, we can exile the top 7 and we can play those this turn. So a really big card draw engine. And if our opponent ever hits Chandra, they take damage equal to the amount of loyalty counters that were removed. Or if we get Chandra to 7, then we remove 7 counters and deal 7 to them. Yeah. Chandra feels very strong. Probably worth trying to push into red as the secondary color. Now we have Chandra's Outrage, a flavor win after taking a Chandra, and also an excellent card. 4 mana for 4 to a creature and 2 to the controller. Pretty nice instant speed removal. Love to get back a Fathom Fleet, Cutthroat, an Improvised Weaponry, or a Keldon Raider. Basically anything on color, except for Salmon. I don't think they're very good. And now we've got Mind Rot, Unexpected Windfall, Last New Sailback, and On-Crop Invader. I like the Invader the most here. I guess you have to sack creatures to buff it, so a 3-mana 2/2 first strike's pretty bad. You've got to get some sack going on. We don't have a ton of stuff that's good to sack. Maybe Unexpected Windfall. It's card draw and treasure production, which can help us splash some stuff in and dig for bombs. I'll actually take Windfall over the Invader. Pack's actually less exciting than I was hoping for. And now these cards are all pretty bad in every color. Yeah, I mean, even if we were still on like blue-black here, these blue cards are really bad. I guess a Sneaking Guide might... I don't know. I don't know here. These are all pretty miserable. The best card is Bloom Hulk in green, and I guess I do have one Flourishing Hunter, so it's not impossible to end up in green. It's quite unlikely, but I'm pretty sure anything I take on color is just going to get cut, so I guess I'll take the Bloom Hulk. But that certainly feels pretty unlikely. Charming Skeletons, 4-mana 4/3 when it dies, scry 1. It was pretty good in Adventures in the Forgotten Realms because you could get enough venture to get to more powerful effects like draw a card. There's no possible way we take Pattern Matcher in a Chaos draft, right? And Minion of the Mighty, we need to attack with 6 powerful creatures and have a dragon enhance. That's also not happening. Maybe I'm just taking another green card? 5-mana 5/4 gain 3 or something? This is weird. I'm going to take another green card. We're getting just green beef, and that's kind of the only thing we're really seeing. Yeah, I mean, look, more green beef, although this time there's a Deadly Alliance, so we just take that. But Riparian Tiger is very beefy. 5-mana 4/4 trample. The first time it attacks, it's a 6/6 trample. Also a Greenwood Sentinel, 2/2 vigilance is solid, and Clear Shot is excellent removal when it comes to green removal spells. +1/+1, then you shoot something else. But Deadly Alliance is great. Just instant speed, destroy a creature, planeswalker. We'll take it. 2-mana 2/2 on curve. We could also take the Ixali's Diviner. Explore is a decent value ability. If there's a land on top of your deck, you just straight up draw a card. If there's not, you surveil one and put a counter on this. Make it a 2-mana 1/4. Diviner's way better than Veteran, but Veteran helps us just be red-black. But again, I'm seeing cool green over everything else, so I'm going to take Diviner towards that possibility. And we're probably going to have to splash a little bit, whatever our deck ends up being, because we're dancing around with our colors so much. But it's probably worth it to up the general card quality. Alright, Spark Reaper's great. 3-mana 2/3, you can sack a creature, planeswalker, gain a life, draw a card, so anytime our opponent tries to blow something up with removal late game, we can sack it to gain a life, draw a card. Actually not great in Chaos Draft. There's not a ton of super expendable cards, but out of this pack, it's definitely the best card. There's not too much else in there. Pack 2, pick 9. Jungle Delver's pretty mediocre. Highborn Vampire is the definition of mediocre. And then blue removal spells pretty mediocre. There's not a lot of clues for the mill, for fleeting memories. Pretty much everything in this pack's unplayable except like Skulker, and I'm not going to be blue. I'll just take Highborn Vampire. So we have a filler creature in our primary color. Another Ashiok Skulker. What does this do? Top 5, put a creature in your hand, put the rest on the bottom. Yeah, it's not very good. Just take an Izzet Locket if we end up in like black, red, splash blue or something. Unlikely to play any of these. Pretty unlikely to play a Mind Rot, but I guess it's in our main color. Unless we end up in like green, red, which I guess is possible. We're back at it again with that really bad pack. I'll take the filler black card, I guess. Gonna have to do some work in pack 3, that is for sure. I'm gonna try to get really lucky with Pattern Matcher. If I somehow get a duplicate of a creature in my deck, then that can actually do something when it hits the board. instead of just being a 4-mana 3/3. The Riparian Tiger's super late, and that card is beefy. So we're equally black-green and black-red. So let's see. Well, there's a black rare that's a good one. -2/-2 to everybody. I guess Riches is the stronger part. So you clear out all their tokens, and then next turn you make them give you one of their creatures, but they get to choose what creature they give you. So if they have something small and dirtily, they can give you that instead. I do need double blue to get to the really good part of that. So I need to be black-blue, and I'm only 2 cards deep into blue. Rags to Riches might actually just not be where it's at. Maybe it's Herbology Instructor towards green-black. Good early game creature that turns into a removal spell on a stick, and we try to wheel Colossal Dreadmaw. It's probably the way. Probably the path. There are 0 green cards here. There's a pretty good black one, Rise of Exodus. Exile a creature and learn a lesson if we manage to find a lesson in this pack. Ichor Drinker is also a good 1-drop. Replaces itself with an Incubator pretty quickly. Warmonger's okay for red-black. Halo Forger's great for blue-black, but I don't think we're there. I'm going to take Rise of Exodus. It's the only card that definitely makes the cut, even if we don't find a lesson. There's a Struggle in red. Also, Sadistic Skymarcher, 3-mana 2/2 flying lifelink is just good already. Again, take a black card. There's a Lightning Strike towards red. Not sure I'm super happy with my push towards black-green here. So now we're seeing good red. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it works out for us. Here's a Shady Traveler, Filler Menace Dork. Although there's a lesson to go with our Rise of Exodus, so it does straight up draw us a card if we need artifact or enchantment removal. Lets us main deck that. That's actually kind of sweet. I'll take the lesson. Lord of the Accursed. If we have a ton of zombies, we could have a very good time. I don't think we will, though. I have 2. Yep, I think it's Fierce Witch Stalker. 4-mana 4/4 trample and get a food is pretty great, but also Jungleborn Pioneer just to clutter up the board at 3 mana. 3 mana for a 2/2 and a 1/1 is always good. Definitely between the Jungleborn Pioneer and the Witch Stalker. Depends on our current curve. I actually think we might need Pioneer more. But that could be because I'm not done resorting my curve. But I think I have a lot of mediocre 4-mana creatures. Yeah, I do. I have a lot of mediocre 4-mana creatures, not a lot earlier. Alright, so this is our curve. Yeah, I like that. I like my choice there, going for the 3-drop instead of the 4-drop. Now we get a Sunbathing Rootwalla. 2-mana 2/2 buffs into a 4/4 in our deck. It's fine. I've got Go for the Throat, Deadly Alliance, and Rise of Exodus. I could use a Blazing Torch. I wouldn't be like super happy with it. Yeah, I'll take the Rootwalla over it. But Blazing Torch is an option too. We're hoping to find enough cards here to ideally not have to do any splashing. Ooh, Professor of Zoomancy. If I find enough cards, I also get to start cutting out some of the mediocre filler, which we definitely have, like Moodmark Painter, Highborn Vampire, Drudge Sentinel. I'm going to take Professor of Zoomancy. I think it's just really good stats for the cost. 4-mana 4/3 and a 1/1 pest, but Vanquish the Weak is also great. But I'll take Professor over Vanquish the Weak. Dusk Charger, speaking of cards that are just good stats for the cost, it's not particularly exciting, just a 4-mana 3/3, but when you have the City's Blessing, it plays quite well, and we have got multiple cards now that can spit out a token when they hit the board, like Professor of Zoomancy, Jungleborn Pioneer, even Bloodcraze Socialite counts, because we're just looking for cards that make us have more permanence, trying to get to 10 permanence. Alright, Gilt Grove Stalker is perfectly reasonable. 2-mana 2/1 that's hard to block. I could take Haunted Fengraf, but I think I need to just take non-land cards here. so that I'm capable of cutting some of our weaker non-land cards. Alright, consuming Aetherborn's perfectly fine. Now I can cut Highborn Vampire and Moodmark Painter. Could play Scout the Wilderness to help a splash. None of our red cards are really splashable outside of Get the Point, though, so I don't think we're doing that. I'll just take Malevolent Noble. Take an Insatiable Appetite. Demonic Gifts. 20 creatures? Yeah, I'll play Demonic Gifts over a Drudge Sentinel then. More non-creature options in this deck. Probably cut Bloom Hulk. I don't really have anything to proliferate. I'll play a Blazing Torch. For sure. I might actually end up cutting Dusk Charger. Okay, so this is 24 cards. I'm going to want 17 lands. I've got some good 6-drop creatures and spells. Unlikely Aid is a potential play as well. Oh, I just realized I probably should have taken that Scout the Wilderness, because that was a way to search for any basic, put it into play tapped, then shuffle. And if you have a white source already, you get to kick it and also get 2 1/1s, which would be kind of perfect for splashing in the Imperial Oath, because if we don't have the white source, we use it to get it, and then if we do have the white source, we still get something out of it. So I think a version of this deck that has a Scout the Wilderness and an Imperial Oath in it is probably better, but I think just green-black is better than splashing in an Oath without any mana fixing for the Imperial Oath. Which is a little awkward. Yeah, I kind of wish I saw that possibility and went for Scout plus Oath here. But today's draft pod was definitely not one where I think we should have been on like 4 or 5 colors again. Don't know if we ended up in the greatest spot here, but we've got a lot of strong cards, some great removal. Not unhappy with this. 18 creatures, 7 non-creatures, so we just cut another creature, another non-creature here. I like all these 4-drops again. I think the weakest one's probably the Dusk Charger, which I do like, but might be the cut. Cut a Dusk Charger, or I could cut a 2-drop. I've got a lot of those, actually. Sure, I guess I'd rather cut a 2-mana card than a Dusk Charger here. Probably the Guiltgrove Stalker. It's unblockable for a little while early, but they just play a 3/3 and it's done. Done all its work. Just like most 2-drops, so it's not like that exciting. So I'll drop that, and then for the non-creature cut, it'd be like a Mind Rot or an Unlikely Aid. I think I definitely prefer Demonic Gifts to Unlikely Aid in this deck, because we have a few really good enter the battlefield effects that we could get to recur with Demonic Gifts. If I Demonic Gifts a Virus Beetle, an Ixali's Diviner, Professor of Zoomancy, something like that, be pretty good. A Cruel Grimnarch. And it's basically the same as Unlikely Aid, it's the +2/+0. Kind of want to cut Mind Rot. I don't really love these kind of cards if they don't also impact the board in some way, because they are pretty terrible draws at the wrong time. If you're in a top deck board and you hit a Mind Rot, that's usually pretty horrible. And you don't really want to do it while you're just setting up. You want to do it once you have a decent board state, then you rip apart their hand a little bit. But at the right time, it is very good. It is a 2-for-1. I think I'm still dropping Mind Rot, though, and just keeping the tricks. and removal, and calling it a deck there. And here's a look at our final deck list for today. It's a very consistent black-green deck. We've just got a solid curve of dorks and some removal to back them up. There's nothing super special, super synergistic to say about today's deck. It is quite a pile of cards, but so are a lot of these mixer draft decks. So quick peek through all the creatures, mainly a bunch of stuff that I think is just pretty solid at its mana cost. Pretty beefy stuff overall. Pretty great removal, Rise of Extus, Deadly Alliance, Go for the Throat, and Blazing Torch. And a couple combat tricks with Demonic Gifts and Unlikely Aid. Super simple, super basic stuff today. Let's just head into the gameplay and see how it does. Here we are on the play for game 1. This is a really slow hand. I'm probably supposed to mulligan, but they play like a really good early threat. I can Go for the Throat it, and if we get to the late game, we are really, really getting there with Cruel Grimnarch and Flourishing Hunter. So I'm going to hope we can draw some of our cheaper creatures. And immediately with the golden draw, Herbology Instructor, which is both a cheap creature and another removal spell once we hit 6 mana. White-listed draws, incredible stuff. Our opponent is on green-blue. And they're going to start with Devkarin Dissident. Just a 2/2 for now. Eventually, they can buff it up, but it requires 5 mana to get +2/+2 till end of turn. And here's a Ceruli Caretaker. 1 mana 0/3, taps another creature, gets a mana of any color. They're stuck on 2 mana right now, so at worst, Go for the Throating the Caretaker is like Stone Raining them off of their 3rd mana, and at best, they're like one of these 4 or 5 color splashy decks where keeping them off of the mana of any color is also valuable. So I am going to Go for the Throat that Caretaker. Because we know they missed a land drop, so now they play a Thornwood Falls. They did top deck a land this turn. And we've made it. We're 1 land away from just dropping down our 6 mana spells. Which is where things go pretty great for us, in general. Drop the Rootwalla past the turn. Here's Grow from the Ashes. So we kept them off of playing Grow from the Ashes a turn earlier, but thanks to that, they will still have a 4th mana ready. I'm going to Grimnarch while I know that they're tapped out and they'll have to discard a card here. Can't counter this in any way. We know their hand is all non-land cards. So we'll hit something at least slightly valuable. I should have attacked with Rootwalla first. That would have gotten 2 extra damage in. Although they might have just taken that bluff and blocked, and then I'm in a bad spot. Okay, so we got rid of the Choose Your Weapon combat trick here. They are on blue, green, and black, so we did get rid of their splash color by destroying their Caretaker as well. They just redrew into it, which is awkward. Okay, I could Rise of Extus the flyer, but I could also just flip my Instructor, which is pretty fine. Let's just flip the Instructor. Well, probably want to just keep jamming out gigantic creatures while they're tapped down, right? Send in these 2. Could win this fight. Just not cast a spell here, but I'm cool with the trade. To drop the Hunter. Keeping this land in my hand, because if they don't play an artifact or enchantment for me to want to blow up, then I'm not going to learn a lesson off of this. So instead, I'll use the alternate effect to discard a card and draw a card. They're just going to scoop them up. They're just already over it, which is fair. I guess it's just a bunch of smaller creatures in hand, and they're facing a 6/6 and a 5/5. And they know that I have the Instructor for onboard removal for the flyer. Just already tired of it. We are going to start this draft off 1-0 as we head into game 2. Alright, here we are for game 2. Our opponent is on the play. We gotta draw some lands here, but I've got a Root Wall locked in, guaranteed. If I hit one land, I've got a Spark Reaper afterwards. And I've drawn into a Go for the Throat for some cheap removal. This is very similar to our first hand, but quite different. At the same time, both of these hands is just really like, I want to just get to 6 mana and win the game. The issue with our first hand was we didn't have a lot of early game plays to help get there. And the issue with this hand is that we need to draw the lands to get to the 6 mana. So both of these are pretty draw-dependent hands and definitely some risk involved. So here's a Cetessan Training from our opponent. Make their Ranger's Hawk a 2/1 flyer and draw them a card. We do hit a land. I'm just going to start by curving out. I'm not going to immediately just go for the Throat a 2/1 flyer, but I'll keep that in mind as a possibility that we might have to do. Got a lot of life gain in this hand, though. We've got Ascetic to gain 3, Hunter to gain 4 if Ascetic is still on board. And for now, our opponent is just cycling some cheap cards to draw some extra stuff, so we're just taking 2 a turn, which is fine. Start racing it with 4 damage a turn. They're still stuck on 2 lands on turn 3. We'll see if they find a 3rd land on turn 4. Looks like we both kept 2 landers. Yeah, they're going to have to cycle Migration Path looking for land 3, and they didn't find it, maybe? They still didn't find it. Alright. So, I don't think anybody's super happy right now, but we're slightly ahead because we at least drew 1 land while they've drawn 0. So, awkward game of Magic here. Nobody's having a great time. They have found their 3rd land now on turn 5, so we've both got 3 mana down. We're definitely both a bit behind on our mana sources, but they've got the Weather Seed Treaty, which is going to be a really big deal. It's going to fix their mana, give them a 1/1, and then give them a pretty big buff. They're just a 2-color deck, though, so the domain won't matter too much, and the fixing doesn't matter. It's just the ramp that they need. I've got that Rise of Exodus if I make it to 6 mana, but again, I've got enough life gain to outpace this Ranger's Hawk, and they're going to potentially have 5 mana up next turn, where there are some much bigger cards I might need to kill with my Go for the Throat. Drawn to a Herbology Instructor, so I'll cast that and gain a little bit of life. Here's the 1/1 Saproling from the Weather Seed Treaty, which doesn't really stop any of our attacks, nor does it attack us until they get the domain trigger. But when they get the domain trigger, they can also just buff the flyer for extra damage. This does give them a creature for Ranger's Hawk. They could start venturing into the dungeon if they really want, but they're going to storm the Seed Core and just buff that flyer. And I guess now I'm just on Go for the Throat. At this point. Probably wait till they choose what to Weather Seed Treaty with, though. If I do it now, I can attack them, but if I wait till they Weather Seed Treaty, they don't get to crack back with the Sapling. I'm at 9, though. If they give the Sapling +2/+2 and attack us with it, we're still at 6. So I should probably actually just kill the Ranger's Hawk and crack in here. Let them hit me for 3 with the Sapling. Unless they have like another gigantic buff spell, this should be pretty fine. Yeah, and they're even just going to chump, which is beautiful. Cool, so they're down to 10. We've got the Consuming Aetherborn's backup ability to gain some more life and really get these life totals back in our favor. And of course, if I hit a land, Ascetic gains life, then Hunter gains life. So they drop a Death Toucher. Drop an Avacyn's Collar, which is really good with humans, but no humans for them right now, luckily. We do hit the mana for Turn Timber Ascetic, so I'll do that. Send in the squad, drop a Turn Timber Ascetic. Goodbye, Spark Reaper. There's an Ascetic. We're up to 12. They are down to 8. There's a High Spire Artisan. That's a pretty good one. Be a 1-4 reach or an 0-3 and a 1-1. And an Obsessive Skinner with the full Delirium. Very big deal. +1/+1 counter during every one of our upkeeps. I mean, not their upkeeps, but our upkeeps. We hit land 6, so I can flip my Instructor and kill the Skinner. That will get rid of the biggest problem on their board and expand my board a bit. That feels pretty good. Probably just do that. They could double block and kill Malady Invoker, but they take 7 if they do, so we'll just send in the squad. Cool. They're down to 3. Valorous Stance on the Turn Timber Ascetic. If they don't play any more creatures, I will try a removal spell for lethal. But if they play any more creatures, we can just jam out a Flourishing Hunter, which is pretty great. They're just going to pass turn. Alright, let's find out if this just kills them to clear out their blocker. And I can even pick up my Naturalize for the Avacyn's Collar, which is cute. Poke for 3. There's Tangle Trap, just destroy their own Avacyn's Collar. That's gonna do it. We are 2-0 as we head into game 3. Here we are for game 3. 2 landers all day, every day. Let's do it. Another pretty exciting hand if I make it to the long game, but I gotta hit those lands. And we're doing alright so far. Our first draw is the Swamp. We are playing against a red deck, so I'm pretty happy to have some incidental life gain in this deck, like Herbology Instructor. They are blue-red, though, which can be definitely a more controlling blue-red deck sometimes. Not necessarily going to be super aggressive, and Take Inventory certainly looks like a more controlling start. So we just slam in for 1, drop a 2/2, and pass the turn. We have 5 permanents on board towards Dusk Charger's Ascension, so we're pretty far away from that right now. There's a Terramander. That is terrifying. It's going to get bigger and bigger. Well, not bigger and bigger. It just gets really big one time, but stays that big permanently. So I'm happy to have Deadly Alliance to use by the time that adapts into a 5/5. I think it'd kill us in 4 hits all by itself once it adapts. So we're going to Virus Beetle our opponent, make them discard a card here, and they drop a Mountain. Poke for 1 with a Terramander. We're down to 22. Thank you, Herbology Instructor. Very cool. And then Third Path Iconoclast. That is another card that is quite scary with a lot of instants and sorceries. Spits out a 1/1 every time they cast a non-creature. That is really nice. Let's go. Consuming Aetherborn. Get a nice big lifelink attack in here. Send in the team. They're just going to take the trade into the Mind Leech Ghoul. I was not expecting that. I guess I could have put the counter on the Ghoul if I wanted to make it so they couldn't have a trade anywhere. But I put it on Instructor, so when Instructor flips, we can clear out a 4 toughness card with it. They are going to admonition the Instructor, though, so that is no longer the case, but that's fine. Okay. Just a Pteramander on their board. I've got the Deadly Alliance, which I guess I'll hold up in case some really weird stuff happens in combat, but if they let this thing die, then cool. Alright. Wow, I really, really like our position right now. Maybe they have a board wipe or something? I don't know. I'm just going to play our biggest creature, Dusk Charger. It's just like 5 damage to all creatures or something? It is 3 damage to all creatures. Yeah, that's pretty rough. So they got 4 cards in hand, we got 4 cards in hand. See who draws the best here, mostly. There is land number 6, which is pretty excellent as a start. Now I can drop the Instructor and have the 6 mana up to flip it next turn. Got an Unlikely Aid against a removal spell if they try to do that. If I give it Indestructible, then it wouldn't die this turn, so it doesn't get exiled. Okay, they play a land, 3 cards left in their hand. I really don't want to flip this when they don't have a creature on the board, but if I flip it, they're on a 3-turn clock. If I don't flip it, they're on a 12-turn clock, and I'm just drawing raw. I'm drawing blind off of the deck right now, and we hit a forest. I feel so bad to give up on that value. Maybe I should just flip it here, but I'm going to hold it. There's a Curate, so they surveil 2 and draw a card. Mill a couple creatures. Drawn to Experimental Augury. So they must just be looking for removal for this thing. If they're just dropping a Lava Serpent, they don't even want a 5/5 to try to block it. Goblin Instigator. Okay, that's annoying because it's not super big and I'd like to kill something big with Instructor, but I guess it's big enough that now we know we can get something killed off of this, which is nice. I can just play a Cruel Grimnarch now. That was an excellent draw. Play that while they're tapped out. Feels really good. 5/5 Death Touch on the board makes them discard a card, so it's a 2-for-1. Even if they do blow it up with removal, they've had to spend 2 cards on it, one of which was a big flyer. Pretty happy with that. Our weird Phyrexian Cleric monstrosity here. Like some Pyramid Head style abomination. Doing some excellent work for us. Okay, they've got no blue mana up, so I'm happily, I'm even more happily going to Rise of Exodus here and draw another card. I was going to say I'll happily Deadly Alliance, but now I can just use Sorcery Speed removal and save my instant speed removal for later. Oh, I forgot how to do the discard a card, draw a card thing. I clicked decline because I didn't want to tutor for the lesson or search for the lesson for my sideboard. I had to click hand and then discard and draw. That's pretty bad. That's just like a perks of playing digital Magic moment. Because obviously in paper I'd be like, I'm going to play this, discard a card, draw a card, so pretty big bummer. Hopefully that misclick doesn't come back to bite us too hard. Just hope they don't have negate here. If they don't have negate, this will be disgusting. Sick, no negate. Make them discard their last card, and they're over it. They are not playing any more of that game. When they get their last card in hand discarded to Grimnarch coming right back, and their board is clear. Alright, so luckily enough that didn't matter, but very important to know for the future. So the way that Arena does these learn spells is it shows you your sideboard. If you click that decline, learn is completely over. You have to view your hand and then click on the card you want to discard. to discard a card and draw a card when you have lessons in your sideboard. Okay. I'll keep that in mind for the future, because that could have been important there. If their last card was negate or something, they definitely were very still in that game. And just an extra bit of card draw could have been really important for us. So almost misclicked in a really bad way. I mean, I did misclick in a really bad way, but luckily it didn't matter for us. And we are going to maintain our undefeated record here now, 3-0, as we head into Game 4. And here we are on the play for Game 4. We've got some 2-drops. Got our big 5-drop. We've just got stuff all around. And our opponent will start things off with an Awashra Cultivator, which can go ahead and grab them whatever basic land they need, put it into play tapped once they have 3 mana. So it'll ramp them up. Mono green so far. Treasure Map is an incredible card. That is a pick one, pack one for any deck in this format. You get to scry and set up your draws a few times, and once you've done that, you get 3 treasure tokens you can then start sacking to draw a card every turn. Really, really gross card. Don't like seeing that. I'll trade an Unlikely Aid into this Cultivator if they let me. Basically trading this combat trick into one of their lands. It's a 1-for-1 trade, combat trick for a little creature or a little land. It's fine with me. They're on green-blue. We do hit a 4th land, or a 4-mana play for a 4th land here, which is excellent for this Bloodcrazed Socialite. Super solid creature on this empty board. And they're going to start searching with their treasure map, scrying through the deck a little bit, setting up those landmark counters. They've got 4 mana up. There's a Boulder Branch Golem, which also gives them some breathing room, and we have not hit land 5, which is pretty bad. Probably bad enough to discard a 5-drop to draw a card and see if I find something better. Cool, so there is the land. So I know I have 5 mana next turn for Turn Timber Ascetic, and if I hit a land, I can also flip my Herbology Instructor and kill their Boulder Branch Golem, which is great as well. They've got 5 mana up now, and 4 cards in hand. There's a Eureka moment to draw 2. They can put a land from their hand onto the board, but it just skipped right past that, so I think they don't have any lands left in their hand. So we're competing against 5 spells in their hand right now. That's super scary. We didn't hit a land to just kill the Boulder Branch Golem here, so we just poke for 3. Alright, so they are drawing a lot of gas. And they could even get to the point where they just use Treasure Map as mana ramp, because once they put that 3rd counter on it, it immediately flips into 3 treasure tokens. So they could just untap, use this again before their draw step, spend 1 mana to get 3 treasures, and just use those treasures to dump out their hand more quickly, and just flip the board state in their favor. And the thing is, that might not even be the best thing they can do with the treasures, because that would be pretty strong, but they could also just keep the treasures and draw 3 more cards off of them. Either way, we're going to be very, very far behind in terms of card advantage. So we need to start trying to get as much damage as we can out of our threats as quickly as possible, or they're going to grind this game in their favor with all their extra cards. They did find land 6. They chose to keep that on top, so that they could Spinning Wheel Kick and 2-for-1 me, which is super disgusting because it kills my Herbology Instructor too. And they were already quite a bit ahead in cards. At least I get to Cruel Grimnarch to close that gap a little bit. but I'm not liking my position. Obviously, life totals were very favored, but card advantage we are miles behind. And I think that that is generally more important. Got rid of a Warbriar Blessing, so we got rid of one potential removal spell. They're going to treasure map in their upkeep to set up their draw. Also give them 3 treasure tokens they can use to dump their hand or draw extra cards in the future. Finding the Old Gods, some more incredible cards over there. Another very big 2-for-1, destroy any non-land permanent and pull out a land into play. And that's if you get 0 value from Chapter 3 where you give your board Death Touch, which is looking like how it's going to end up here. I don't think our opponent's going to get any value from that. Let's slam the Ascetic in here, and then we'll Virus Beetle and get another little swinging card advantage in our favor. Okay, that works well. They just bounce the Ascetic. That's pretty okay with me, because now they only have 2 cards to discard, and that means that card didn't really cost them a card. Or it didn't really cost us a card. Now it's Virus Beetle, the last 2 cards in hand. And drop the Root Walla. Got rid of a Rocks Pummeler, got rid of a 6/3 that starts with a shield counter. That means their final card must be really good. They still have 2 more pieces of card draw from this Treasure Cove too. And they have the dual lands for the Binding the Old Gods to find, which is what made it so good in Call Time, is I could tutor out dual lands as long as they were forests. Oh my god. Our opponent is living the value dream. Precognitive Perception to scry 3 and draw 3 here. And they still, again, have 2 more pieces of card draw with the Treasure Cove going. They are running laps around us in terms of cards in hand, which matters a lot. Again, their board state is not exactly stable right now, but it's close enough. I mean, a 3/3 against this, they just take 5 maximum. And yeah, 1 removal spell and they're basically stable. And they're just going to keep drawing cards. We've drawn a land here, which is pretty bad. Can't really attack at all. We just play a Turn Timber Ascetic and pass. And hope they draw really poorly, because they are definitely drawing more cards than us. They get to draw another card off of Treasure Cove. And they have 3 cards in hand to our basically 0. Sky Rider Patrol, that is a phenomenal, phenomenal card. Every turn they can get a +1/+1 counter on a creature and give it flying till end of turn, so that's just going to sit there and keep making their board state better and better and better, and it's exactly what you want in a board stall like this. It's a Demonic Gift, which isn't terrible. I think I'm just trying to find a really good place to use this. Get the damage in while we can still, as well. Could wipe their board and discard the last card in their hand. That's a decent way to use it. But then my board is only a Virus Beetle. But it's probably worth it to get rid of Sky Rider Patrol. I guess this probably puts us in a losing position, but it does even if I put it here. If I put it here, I have a 5/4 against a 2/3. But that 2/3 does so much work if they have any other creatures. I'm going to clear the board. They're going to have 2 cards in hand thanks to Treasure Cove, so they just discard the worst of the 2. But then from then on, just as it's been before, we're just hoping to draw a decent bit better than them since we are a card behind. But thanks to Virus Beetle, it's only really like 1 card behind. Oh, they milled our Professor, which is not good for us. They have a Flycatcher Girafarid and a better spell in their hand than that. The better spell is Niall Avazoa Aeronaut. They get to scry 3 every time they hit us with her. Pretty good. There's go for the throat. Speaking of things that are pretty good. Yeah, just kill Niall before they can draw into any protection for her. Now they're on a 10-turn clock, I guess, and we're in a top deck war. See how everybody draws here. Oh, now they've got a campus, though, so they can just start scrying every turn. Also pretty devastating. They get to dig 2 cards deep every turn. They get the best card of the top 2. We just get the top card. Alright, top card is the best card. We'll see what it is here. Alright, it must be a removal spell then. If they're just going to snap keep it and then think for like half a minute whether or not they want to even use it. Must just be a removal spell for Virus Beetle, but they don't want to kill a 1/1. Scry to the bottom. Got 13 cards left in their deck. They will mill out before us. There's a Baral, which is just a 1/3, but it's big enough to stop Virus Beetle in its tracks. Sadistic Sky Marcher. Well, we found the target for their removal spell. Still have to just jam it out and hope for the best. Oh, this is a 4-mana 2/2 Flying Lifelinker. Actually misread the card. I would have preferred if they worded it differently, where it was 4 mana up front, and then it just said that it costs 1 less to cast if you reveal Vampire from your hand, but I guess they have to word it like that for it to work right. Well, let me see. It's not removal? What did they scry to the top and then not play? Is it Syncopate or something? Counter unless I pay 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what it would be right now. Yeah, I've got the mana for a Syncopate. Counter unless I pay 2? Oh, if I have 8 or more cards engraved, they just straight counter it? Well, I definitely have 8 or more. No, if they had that, they would have countered that. Something else. Am I going crazy? Am I misremembering? I'm pretty sure they scried something to the top, and then they still haven't played it. I think. Because again, if it was the counter spell, they would have countered Sky Marcher. Maybe they scried Baral to the top and then... Well, no, that still doesn't make sense. I was going to say maybe they scried Baral to the top but then didn't want to play it the turn they scried it because they had a blue counter spell, but if they had a counter spell, they would have countered Sky Marcher. I don't know. They're digging through their whole deck now. They probably know what their whole deck is at this point. They've scried so much because it shows you face up everything that you've scried to the bottom. So they probably get to know just exactly what they're drawing pretty soon, which is cute. They're down to 10 cards in their library. Even if they find removal for Sky Marcher, they need to kill me in 10 turns. So maybe we're also on a mill backup plan, because they've drawn so many cards. Our game plan is a lot simpler than theirs. Just boop. It's still doing it. They're down to 3. They're going to Roiling Regrowth, so they're going to mill themselves some more to get some lands out of their deck. Maybe they've got a big X mana spell to end the game. But they're down to 8 cards now, so if they don't have like a massive finisher left in there, They do need to worry about milling as well, and it feels like at this point they probably only have like one more removal spell left, so if I can draw another big threat, that also might be enough to finish things off. Because again, at that point they'd scry at least like 4 or 5 to the bottom. Oh, well, Glorybringer is one of the best bomb rares of all time in Limited. It's literally in like the Hall of Fame of most egregious Limited rares. So I guess we'll lose. Well, that sucks. It's a removal spell and a 4/4 flyer haste all in one. It's multiple removal spells. It gets to keep hitting us for 4 and clearing out our board by exerting. Dang. Yeah, that is premium card. Definitely the best card in their deck. Maybe they kept that and didn't have double red yet, and then they found the Roiling Regrowth to get to the double red. Alright, Skatewing Spy probably would have won them the game also, so at least there's that. It's like we didn't just straight lose to a Ridiculous Bomb. Because just a 4/5 flyer probably would have gotten there. I don't think this really helps me enough. We're taking 8 damage a turn. We're gonna find something quick. What do I have left to find? I still have 2 more removal spells that can clear out one of these flyers. That's about all we really could find. Flourishing Hunter would be good. It's big enough that it won't die to Glorybringer, and it'll gain us a good chunk of life. So we have like 3 really good draws. Mainly just the removal spells. Blazing Torch would be lethal off the top now. Wait, no, it wouldn't. I could attack them with both, definitely hit them for 1 damage, and then Torch does 2, but I'd need to have an untapped creature to torch them to death. Oh my god. So we put them to 2 and we torch them next turn? Do I play the Torch while they're tapped out to play around a counter spell? Or do I wait and try to surprise them with it to play around a bounce spell? If they have sorcery speed bounce. No, I play around the Glorybringer Exert. That's what I'm playing around. If I play it right now, they definitely just exert my Diviner. I should have played my land so that I have less cards in hand, so it is less suspicious. There's less things that I could have to maybe kill them alongside a Diviner. Please don't exert and kill Diviner. Yeah, if they don't exert here, then they're probably dead. Uh-oh, we might be dead. They're attacking with everybody? Down to 11? What is this? Hooded Brawler. Please no counterspell 1 time. No counter, no bounce. Torch on Diviner. Shoot face. Blazing Torch MVP, baby! Unwinnable game has been won. We are undefeated still now. We are 4-0. And Blazing Torch, that's a magic card right there. That has got to feel absolutely devastating for our opponent, because the worst thing about it is they had the ability to exert and kill the Diviner, but in the end, overlooking the measly little 1/4 is going to cost them the game. Even the smallest of people can change the world. We are 4-0 as we head into Game 5. And here we are now for Game 5. Mono green hand, but I'm still going to keep it here. It has our MVP Ixali's Diviner in there. And there's our swamp. So we are golden. We're all set up. I don't need any more lands immediately, so I'm going to play Root Walla first. Wayfinder, just a 2-1, makes sure they have a land on top of their deck, so basically just a 2-1 here. I don't really want to trade my 2-2 for a 2-1 though, so I guess I'll play Diviner and just block this. Ooh, Flourishing Hunter. I've got 5 out of 6 mana, let's keep that. Just need to draw 1 land by turn 6, which should be pretty reasonable to do. So beneath the sands, they're going to ramp up. Find a basic of any type, just a forest, so just a 2-color deck again. Similar to the last green-white deck that we played against. I could poke them for 1, but I'd rather just get the Root Walla down. Because I definitely don't want to block with Root Walla, so I don't want to poke them for 1 and then take 2 on the crackback. It's just not a good deal. It's a Gallant Cavalry, but I got plenty of blockers that are perfectly fine against that. Now I can play Noble and hold up Unlikely Aid, and my tummy is growling. Pass the turn. Fierce Witchstalker. I hope that's not my Fierce Witchstalker. Would have loved to wield that card. But someone just had to play green in our draft pod. I could trade Unlikely Aid into one of these. I could also trade a Root Walla into one and make my Noble a 3-3. Kind of cool. And then a 3-3 Noble can just clear things out in the future. Yeah, I'm not going to have the mana up to buff Root Walla very often at all, so let's just make Noble a permanent 3-3. And this is still basically just trading Root Walla into the 2-2. But this way I also just get to keep a 3-3 on board, instead of just a 2-2 on board. And here's Turn Timber Ascetic. Pass the turn. It's funny, this is basically just the Witchstalker, except that it immediately eats the food. Oh, Legion's Judgment. There goes my Fierce Witchstalker. Veskier Shieldmate, fine. We're only getting hit by the Witchstalker right now, and as soon as I drop Hunter, that stops. They know we have Flourishing Hunter, so it feels like they wouldn't have Legion's Judgment if they didn't have removal for Hunter as well. So we got to worry about that, but I can't exactly hold Unlikely Aid up alongside it. I can save Unlikely Aid for when I do Aetherborn stuff. So we can try to do some Aetherborn stuff here. 2-3 and a 3-3. Or, sorry, a 2-3 and a 1-4 is already just good blocks. So we'll send in. Okay, I'll take the 2 for 1 here. They will get a 1-1 out of this, but pretty cool with me. There's a Makeshift Battalion. This is a good board state for that card. Gets bigger if it attacks with 2 other attacking creatures, and it can definitely do that. Although it will just turn into a 4-3 where I can trade my 3-3 into it. No blocks. Down to 15. Don't hit the land. I can Virus Beetle their last card, which is probably removal for Flourishing Hunter, so that feels perfectly valuable. Also Spark Reaper away the Virus Beetle, or sack the Virus Beetle to the Noble. Make them discard Plague Nurse. Okay, so that's not... They just wanted to deal with what they immediately needed to deal with, which is fair, because it certainly has played out well for them since I don't have the mana for Hunter anyway. Trade Noble and a Virus Beetle into 2 of their cards. I think I'm just on blocks now, though. They are playing completely off the top, and we're going to have a 6-6 soon and an Aetherborn on the 6-6 to hit for 7 and gain 7. I like our position, but this is Magic. It is a game of variance. They could draw on 2 incredible cards, and they have. Auspicious Starix is an insane card even by itself, because it mutates and then plays another permanent for free. And that permanent, oh no, is an Ivy Elemental for a 0/0? Okay, well, things just went from super bad to super fine really quickly. Because that would have been so bad if it hit just like a 3-3 or something. But it hit a 0/0, and our opponent gets to be very sad about that. Okay, so we're going to take our 6. Now I'm just going to have to trade Flourishing Hunter into Starix. I still kind of want to wait and try to get it to 7. I can just trade like this if I want. And this is pretty fine by me. I think that's the best blocks I have. I could sacrifice one card to Noble, but that won't change anything. That doesn't matter. Could sack one thing to Spark Reaper. I'd rather just keep creatures out right now. And this has trample, so there's no reason to chump and sack now on that thing. Yeah, let's take the trade and the free kill. Go to 9. If I don't hit a land, I'll just Aetherborn and gain some life here. Okay, yeah, now I've got a Flourishing Hunter and a Cruel Grimnark coming up. So I should be in a really good position if I just hit a land soon. Probably just not blocking again. So we do this so I can hit harder. And I can just block Cavalry with a 1/4. Again, they're playing completely off the top here. I could trade my Aetherborn off, that's not terrible. And that's fine. It would be a little easier to race if I had another lifelinker down, but again, these 6-drops are going to get there. And Grimnark can even gain me. And they both gave me life. They both gave me life and then just insta-trade. So I'll play the Hunter. Well, now I have to trade Hunter into this and then trade Grimnark into the other card. But these should still be pretty good. Gain 4, trade into Dreadmaw. Alright, we got a really good lead on the board now. 5 power against 0. Drawn to a Riparian Tiger for another 6 damage on the attack next turn. And that's lethal. The Civic Gardener. Thanks to Trample, I think we're still at lethal. 6, 7, 8, 9. We're at exact lethal. And 9 damage it'll be. That's going to lethal our opponent out of the game, and we are now undefeated, I think 5-0? Are we 5 wins down? That would be wild with this green-black deck. We are 5 wins deep as we head into round 6, undefeated, guaranteed in the money from this point on. And here we are on the play for game 6. Pretty good curve here. I kind of like that we have the Blazing Torch to sack to the Malevolent Noble at instant speed for a little miniature combat trick if we need it. That's pretty cute. We also have the Jungleborn Pioneer into the Mind Leech Ghoul, so I can sack a 1/1 to make our opponent exile a card from their hand, which is probably worth it. A lot of little synergies stacking up this game. Pretty cool stuff. Playing against a red-white. And they will play an Ossification to exile our Malevolent Noble. That's fine. A little sad. We had some good stuff to do with that card. But definitely better than if they use it on a 5-4 or a 6-6 later. There's a Makeshift Battalion. We've seen that card. Definitely much less good this early in the game. I'm going to race them here since we have a 3-3 Menace coming down soon. And unless they play 2 hasty creatures, that should not get a counter right now, so I don't have to worry about it getting out of range of dying to Blazing Torch or something. Yeah, so I mean, I just take 3, go to 17. They had like a rally at the Hornburg, that would be nasty, but there's no Lord of the Rings cards in this format. So there's a Gust Walker. I can fully use my Blazing Torch and a Mind Leech Ghoul. I think that's pretty fine. I'll clear the blocker. Keep pushing in for damage. Get rid of a card in their hand. Just gonna hit for 5, keep this blood token for now. Until a 5 damage menace swing would be like the difference between attacking or blocking, or the difference between lethal or not. Since I don't have any other ways to get a blood token, I'll only ever have one opportunity to get the 5 damage swing in. So we'll wait till it might be able to get the Socialite in a position where it doesn't get double blocked as well. Although there goes the Socialite, so never mind on that front. Still get to keep the blood token for when we hit our 7th land. We can discard that and draw a card. Our opponent has to consider just trading into a 2/2 now, which is good. But they are going to attack in. I guess I could still trade in on blocks, but I'm definitely attacking. There's a Sadistic Sky Marcher for a 4 mana 2/2 lifelinker again. Hate that it always just looks like a 3-drop, because then it makes me think it's the other way around. Ew, Hexgold Hoverwings. At least it's just a 3/2. But flying, I wanted my Sky Marcher to get in for free. There's the Herbology Instructor now. It's also very good. They're down to 10. They gotta think about making some trades here. And they are gonna make 2 trades on board, so they'll go down to 8, and we'll clear a path for our other nonsense and drop a Herbology Instructor. There's a Relic Sloth 4/4 Vigilance Menace. Does stop our current attacks, but not if I draw into Go for the Throat. And I blow it up and hit for 3. True Fire Captain, if I hit land 6, I can kill that with Instructor and they're done on board. And beautifully timed as always. Thank you very much, Herbology Instructor. Very cool. Attack for 5, and we are 6-0 remaining undefeated as we head into Game 7. The final battle with 2 extra rounds in the chamber. Here we are now for game number 7. I don't think we can keep this. We've got literally nothing proactive to do. All we're doing is removal spells, and we can't do any of them until turn 5 onward, so really, 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 really draw reliant. We've kept other hands that were reliant on draws, but not to this extent, I think, so take that mulligan. This is much better. Pioneer into Dusk Charger is pretty good. I think I'm going to ditch Swamp here and just hope to draw a land. We are on the draw, and I only need to draw 1 land to play pretty much the whole hand, because the only other option would be if I want to put Riparian Tiger on bottom. What does this thing do? We can have each upkeep if they lost life, put a counter on it, so basically nothing. I'll just make sure not to hit them until the Paladin doesn't matter too much anymore. Okay, we hit a Bloodcrazed Social, which is a vampire. Hold on. I can play the Flying Lifelinker, but then the Paladin keeps getting bigger, which is not good. I think I'd rather just play the Pioneer and hold that thing off, because then the Paladin doesn't get to hit us, and we also just don't make it bigger. But we actually have a vampire for the Sadistic Sky Marcher to be cast for only 3 mana, which is adorable. Okay, well, I'm going to have to do that. I got nothing else to play. Unless I want to hold up Demonic Gifts. Demonic Gifts on a Jungleborn Pioneer is actually pretty cool. And again, I don't really want to hit them until Paladin of Atonement is kind of dealt with. 3/4 flyer. Don't like to see that. I I could theoretically get a Sky Marcher down in Demonic Gifts. It's going to take a long time, though. I think I'm just going to wait till I find removal for the Enforcer Griffin and start taking 3 a turn for a while. Make sure I've got the ground super locked up. Spark Reaper. Gotta invest a lot of mana into drawing cards off that. I'm gonna play the Sky Marcher. And we might let the Paladin get a little bit bigger so that I gain some life and have some breathing room. They just keep beating me down with Enforcer Griffin. Ew, Bosri's Acolyte. That card is very good. That was a top common in its format. 4 mana for a 2/3 lifelinker, and you get a +1/+1 counter onto 2 of your cards. Super nasty. Now they have a 4/5 flyer. So they get to kill my lifelinker and a 1/1 here. But I can clear out the Daybreak Chaplain. It's not like the Sky Marcher is going to be big enough to kill the Griffin anyway. Whoa. They choose to kill the 2/2 on the ground instead of the 2/2 lifelinker in the sky. Pretty good for me. Here's Ixali's Diviner. Please hit a land. Thank you. And now we're praying. Still looking for another land and then removal, and they're playing off the top. Alright, well, now I understand why they chose to kill my 2/2 instead of my 2/2 flying lifelink. It's because they knew that the top card of their deck was removal anyway. They had foreseen the future. Yeah, our blocks are miserable. Go to 8. Still no land. Mind Leech Cool's great with a pacified creature, but not when your opponent has no cards in hand. And scrying away the land has worked out really badly for us. It was a calculated risk here. The idea was that if I scry away the Riparian Tiger instead of a land, I'm keeping 4 lands with 4 mana at the top of my curve, so if I hit more lands, I flood out so easily. So my options were to flood out pretty easily or get mana screwed with a little bit of difficulty. I think I made the right mulligan choice. It just panned out statistically poorly for me. Probably do play the Socialites, so I might be able to dig for removal, but I don't think it matters. I think these draws were just too rough. Right, well, kill an Acolyte. They top deck the combat trick to kill both creatures and get a replacement creature. Gain 1 life. Yeah, no, that's still 4 life and I die in this guy. Alright. Not much of a game of Magic there. If I held on to my land, I'd have had 5 mana for a couple turns now. Could have played Turn Timber Ascetic. Obviously, we wouldn't have Riparian Tiger anymore. So with perfect hindsight, knowing exactly what we would have drawn, there's like 1 land in the top, like 7 or 8 cards. The mulligan was incorrect, but I think statistically, probabilistically, I think it was probably better to keep the tiger than the land. Maybe I'm wrong about that one, but I think it's just statistically so much more likely that we hit 3 or 4 lands where keeping the tiger is better than hitting 1 land where keeping the land would be better. I don't know. Bummer of a game. Some rough draws will lead to our first loss. We are 6-1 as we head into game number 8. Here we are on the play for game 8. No green source. Pretty rough in the 2-color hand. Or the 2-color deck. Mana should be relatively easy to hit. I always say the worst things so that arena can completely jinx me. But yeah, I was saying in a 2-color deck, it should be pretty easy to hit all our colors. Mulligan, mono green, sick. 5-card hand it is. And arena might just decide this is going to be another nice, crisp, clean 6-0 into 6-3. I really don't think there were a lot of things that we could have done differently last game. I could have gotten my lifelinker down earlier if I didn't try to get that the trick down, the +2/+0. Maybe that was like my best bet. But the only other thing was just draw better, 5-head. Keep the land, know that I'm not going to draw any. Just be omnipotent, 5-head. With this hand, I'm scrying away from 2 lands because the other option is to keep a 4-lander where my curve ends at 2 mana. So yeah, it looks weird to get rid of all my lands when I have a Rise of Exodus, but I'm not going to get rid of a Root Waller or a Blazing Torch because those are guaranteed plays for early in the game. And at that point, if I'm getting rid of Rise of Exodus, I'm keeping 4 lands for almost no reason. I just have no spells for those 4 lands right now. And we're statistically more likely to draw like 3 mana and less spells than draw more 4 and 5 mana spells just because we have a mana curve in this deck. So it averages out to more castable draws. Anyway, playing against mono red so far, there's an Underworld Rage Hound and a Spear Spewer. So that kind of stops our attacks, although here's a nice flying lifelinker to get in there. Just pass. Spear Spewer, if they don't have removal for Sky Marcher, could be really good for us. If they just keep tapping it. Because I think if we've got a 2/2 lifelinker on the board, then each player taking an extra damage each turn is a pretty big net gain for us. Okay, they are black-red, and there's a Deadeye Tormentor, makes us discard our Rise of Exodus. Pretty annoying, but if I don't hit 6 mana anyway, it doesn't really matter. Which we might not, judging by last game. But if you want to judge by what would be the funniest way for the Arena Shuffler to hose us, that would be mana screwed last game and then mana flooded this game to punish us for having to discard Rise of Exodus here. So if you go by that logic, that logic will definitely hit land 6 pretty soon. Sky Marcher definitely races with the Rage Hound. We're chilling. Definitely not trading into it and putting it in their grave, because it can reanimate itself with its escape ability pretty soon. They need 3 other cards. I guess they don't have a lot. Lightkeeper, not spooky till they have 8 mana. They have 5 right now, so we're cool with it. Ooh, Unlikely Aid. Something weird happens. Protect the Sky Marcher with it. Probably torch the Blight Keeper at this point. So what they deal 4 to us a turn, we do 2 to them a turn. It's kind of like a 4 life swing because we have lifelink. Okay, yeah, if they don't attack with Blight Keeper, I think we're still chilling. Do I torch Blight Keeper to stop them from chumping at least? I don't think so. Well, there's land 6 for the Rise of Exodus. There's the chump. Got an onboard trick for that. That is very strange. I guess they forced me to use the torch. but I'm pretty chill with that. I don't get any life this turn as well. That could be big for them, that I don't gain life here. Those are just Underworld Ragehound versus Sadistic Skymarcher race. Let's go. With a Spear Spewer speeding up the race. It's super weird. Make me discard 2 cards. Pretty annoying. Guess I might as well unlikely aid. The race continues. Mind Leech Ghoul is the draw. They're at 4, we're at 8. Let's make them discard a card because we know it's 2 non-land cards. Get rid of a 3/2. Yep. This is going to be a really close game, however it ends. There's a Goblin Picker. Another land for us. Mind Leech Ghoul doesn't even damage them if I attack with it. Just trades into a Picker. And they could also just not block and try to find a way to kill us with a burn spell or something, so should hold back the Ghoul. Put us to 6 and them to 1. They can't tap a Spear Spewer or they will die. If they have removal, we're dead. No, if they have removal, we're both dead. They can tie the game. Oh my god. Don't do it. Oh my god. If they have a removal spell, it's their best play. Is just kill the Ghoul, attack for 5, and then draw the game with Spear Spewer. Oh, please god, no. Okay. Doesn't look like they have removal. I'm not gonna let them draw the game. I mean, it would be funny. Let's be real, it would be funny. But I'd like to try to get my 7th win if I can. So let's try. Oh my god, Tragic Slip. That's so ridiculous. Well, here's a Flourishing Hunter. I don't gain any life. But it can block. I can't believe they had Tragic Slip there, because I literally just didn't have a choice. But to trade into it and trigger the Tragic Slip. But the other option is to just draw the game on the spot, which is definitely not where to go. With our board state. Oh my god. Ah, seems good. 6 and 2 it is. What a blowout. What a combination of cards to have there. 6 and 2 as we head into the final boss. Alright, this is definitely the best hand that we have had these last few games. By a lot. That Kami is super bad for me if they have enough enchantments, but it's kind of hard to have a lot of enchantments in the mixer draft unless you're super lucky in the draft pod. Well, combat trick me if you want. Brackish Trudge, just a 4/2 that can keep coming back if they gain life. It's a Fungus Beast. I think I'm just chilling. Probably have to block the Kami and shoot the Trudge and hope they don't have a ton of life gain for it. Otherwise, I am going to keep taking 4 a turn for quite some time. Prophetic Prism, they're going to draw a card. They've got mana fixing from that as well. Here's a Dusk Charger. Nice 3/3. Master Symmetrist, a very nice 4/4. 7 permanents. I have 9 out if I play Jungleborn Pioneer, not quite enough. So I guess we go Ascetic. I don't think I want a Deadly Alliance the 4/4 just yet. Because I'm going to have a 5/5 and a 5/4 if I play Jungleborn Pioneer. Spoils of the Hunt, so they kill my 5/4. No longer going to have 9 permanents out. Oh my god. Pretty nice. 2 green removal spells that are really bad when I've got instant mana up. Like, really bad against this spell specifically, so of course this was the revealed spell to the Explorer, so they know they have to do it while I'm tapped out. There's just been a lot of really bad occurrences for us these last few games. There's an Evolving Wilds, but they've already got the Prism, so that's probably just land 6 in general, and they're going to pass the turn, because I could triple block. Now I can play Sky Marcher and still hold up. Demonic Gifts. So drop that down. You know, despite being a 4-mana 2/2, that card has been pretty great in like all of these games, which is surprising. Find a red source, so they've got 4 colors now thanks to Prophetic Prism. Diagraph Scavenger, okay. Just a Death Toucher on the ground. Oh, and it gains life for the Trudge. That's very good, actually. Since it does work with that. Their thing has Surprise Reach. It's annoying. Screw it. Play the land for my Deadly Alliance. I can take 2 every turn and still outrace them thanks to the lifelink. So I'll let the Scavenger hit me, but I'll trade into stuff like the Trudge. Rosethorn Acolyte. Go for the throat. Alright, excellent removal. I have to hit them for 10 turns, which is kind of insane. Professor of Zoomancy is very nice on the ground. Get that thing out here. And they're just going to pass the turn now. Already got the 7 mana I need to cast Go for the Throat and Deadly Alliance, so I'll hold on to this last card. There's a Legion War Boss. If they go to combat, they get a 1/1 attacking every turn. That's it though. I think I just let them get 1/1s. And just block the 1/1 with a 1/4 every time. Socialite's pretty good with this extra land. Still have the mana up for Go for the Throat. I can't have the mana up for Deadly Alliance, though. Tishana's Wayfinder. It's going to explore for them. Does reveal a land, so 3 mana 2/2 draw a card. Very good deal. It's the Legion War Boss. Get our block in. Use our blood. Discard a card, draw a card. Find another land, draw for turn. Find another land. Well, we play one of these. Keep doing our thing. Ship it in the sky. Defiler of Flesh. Just a menace dork. Only gives one creature menace, right? Yeah, target creature gets +1/+1 menace. I think that's also fine on the current board state, especially because Sadistic Skymarcher has put us up to 26 life. So we're just letting that chill. Okay, now I could play Root Wall and still have 7 mana up, so I'd like to do that. Just gonna play both of my removal spells if I need to. And we've done it, we're halfway there. Off of just Sadistic Skymarcher. Malevolent Noble. Kind of whatever, but playable here. Unless they have a board wipe, but they have not been playing like their plan is a board wipe. They've been casting stuff like Defiler of Flesh, which they wouldn't do if they were just trying to draw into a board wipe. Consuming Aetherborn. Hit them for 3 in the sky. Does that speed up the clock? 3 turns. It's 3 turns instead of 4, so I guess barely. Okay, well, probably the most frustrating game of Magic of the day for our opponent. Because it was literally death by 1,000 stings. It's just a board stall where you just keep getting drained by one Sadistic Skymarcher. This was the one creature that attacked all game. I probably attacked with something else, but it's the one thing that actually damaged them all game, and it was just going to do all 20 damage, because we were at the point now where the board state was wide enough, we could blow up one of their creatures, attack with everybody, and kill them on board, so that's why they conceded there. Yeah. Alright, well, Magic Arena definitely spreading some absolute misery around those last 3 games. Obviously, our 2 losses, those both felt pretty bad, at least to me. I definitely did not have a ton of fun in those games. And then the final game, I can't imagine what it was like on our opponent's side of the table, where they had like 8 or 9 draw steps to find anything. any removal, reach creature, flyer, anything like that, and they just find nothing. They find good cards. They found the Goblin Mentor rare. They found the 4/4 Menace Defiler rare that buffs things, but just nothing that mattered. So, all right, we do, by the skin of our teeth, make it out in the end with a 7-win run, which is very surprising and really exciting, honestly, for this deck. I mean, you all saw the draft if you watched through that. We bounced around a lot. I mean, we knew we were in black, but our second color changed all the time. So expected to end up with a pretty average, pretty mediocre pile, and this is pretty average overall. I think it's got some things going for it that ended up being really great. Obviously, the removal spells are pretty good. Deadly Alliance, Rise of Exodus, go for the throat, Blazing Torch, which is important. The Blazing Torch finding us a victory was insane. But also we just have a ton of nice 2-for-1 random value things, like hit the board, make our opponent discard a card, hit the board and get a 1/1, have a creature on board and a removal spell, hit the board and make our opponent discard a card, hit the board and draw us a card potentially. A lot of stuff like that was grinding things out pretty well for us. And again, just the solid curve of creatures in general. So definitely a big overperformer as a deck as a whole. Get a 7-2 run with this, and I was expecting somewhere mediocre, 3-3, 4-3, but just get a couple 7-win runs in a row to end off these Mixer Premier drafts. So yeah, really sweet stuff. Biggest overperformer of the day has got to go to Sadistic Skymarcher. It kind of won the game all by itself in that last game of Magic, and it was consistently great. Even in our last loss, it almost single-handedly won us that game as well. Another overperformer goes to Blazing Torch. That's like the coolest card of the day award for winning us that one game that it really felt like we had no shot of winning. But overall, in terms of consistency, Skymarcher was much better than I thought it was. And I thought it was a 3-mana 2/2 lifelinker. But it was a 4-mana 2/2 lifelinker, and it was still better than I thought it would be. So big props to Sadistic Skymarcher. Biggest underperformer probably goes to Spark Reaper. Again, underperformer does not mean the weakest card in the deck. It means the card that I feel like I overvalued a little bit and did a little worse than I thought it would. And while the weakest card in our deck was probably like our trick, like Unlikely 8 or something, I never thought this was going to be that good. Spark Reaper is a card that I consider to be pretty solid. It was pretty great in War of the Spark, but I don't think we used its ability a single time, and we found ourselves in some board states with 1/1s, with a Merfolk, or a 1/1 Virus Beetle or something. It just never was relevant to us, so that'll be the biggest underperformer. Overall, though, incredible stuff from the deck, getting us another 7-win run, getting us massive prizes, 2,200 gems, a pack of Ixalan, Rivals of Ixalan, Core Set 2020, Ikoria Lair, Behemoth's Call Time, and D&D Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you just for watching the video. If you'd like to see more videos like this, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link or the join button in the description below. And other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.